Hello everyone. Today I would like to talk about perspective drawing. Probably you already know that there are several types of perspective. This could be based on the angle of view, angle of the perspective, such as zero level or ground level, or we have eye level perspective, extreme perspective, aerial perspective, etc. Or this could be based on the number of vanishing points. We have 1 point perspective, 2 point, 3 point, and 4 point perspective. So in 1 point perspective, we have one vanishing point. So it is ideal for drawing objects for indoor and outdoor. For the outdoor example over here, as you can see, we have one vanishing point, and anything that we draw goes towards that vanishing point. So such as in this road example, my roads and the power lines, they all shrink towards the vanishing point over here. And basically they disappear towards the horizon. So in the room example, we have similarly to the outdoor one, we have one vanishing point, and everything that I draw goes to that vanishing point, such as the edges of the room or the table, etc. But this 1 point perspective creates more two-dimensional look. That's why we have 2 point perspective to achieve more three-dimensional look. So over here we have 1 and 2 vanishing points. That way it looks like as if we are looking the object from an angle. Whereas with the 1 point perspective, we are looking object from straight from front. And we have 3 point perspective. We have the third vanishing point at the top. Actually, it depends on the angle of view. If we are standing above the object, then the third vanishing point will be at the bottom. So it is ideal for drawings to show the scale, such as architectural drawing or big objects like trains and container ships, etc. So to show and exaggerate the scale of the object, 3 point perspective is perfect for that. And furthermore, we have 4 point perspective. It gives kind of like a fisheye effect, like a macro shot. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 vanishing points around the circle. And as a result, we have more squeezed shape, squeezed forms, and it creates this fisheye look. So here's another example down here. So that's 4 point. And for the shortcut for 4 point perspective is we just generally get those slices and then place them as a circle and then wrap our object around that form. So that is the shortcut for that. But mainly as industrial designers, we use 2 point perspective because of the scale of the objects that we are dealing with. Most of the objects that we design are handheld objects, therefore they're not too big, so we don't need to exaggerate the scale of it by using 3 point perspective, or they are not too small to use this fisheye effect. So that is why in this tutorial I will be showing 2 point perspective. Now I will be drawing some boxes using 2 point perspective. There are several methods of drawing a 2 point perspective. I will begin with the longer method to show the logic behind 2 point perspective. Then afterwards I will show shorter ways of constructing your boxes with 2 point perspective. So before we begin, I highly recommend practicing with straight lines. So because in perspective drawing, we will be producing a lot of straight lines that are going to our vanishing point. Therefore, it's important to get those lines straight. And other important thing is the line weight. Since we're going to have a lot of lines, it's good to have hierarchy between our lines. So our final object should stand out more than the construction lines. So try to achieve that line quality and line weight. So before you begin, as I said, please try to practice with line exercises. If you don't know, I recommend watching our previous tutorial. And just to help you, what you can do is you can use a ruler and draw a straight line. And afterwards, try to go over that straight line to get that arm movement right. Once you got that arm movement right, try to draw over here without drawing a line with your ruler. And always try to use your arm, not your wrist. And to achieve a line weight, different line weights, you just have to play with the angle of the pen and the pressure of the pen, as well as the speed of the pen. So if you hold it upright, the more ink will flow, and then your line will appear darker. And if you hold it 45 degrees, let's say, and draw faster and as well as less pen pressure, you will produce thinner lines. All right. So let's begin. In the very first step, we are planning our drawing. So we are deciding the proportions of the shape from side view and top view. Let's say my box will have, I'm looking at this box from 45-degree angle. And from top view, it's going to be 2 units by 1 unit. Moreover, I have to decide how close I am towards this object. And let's say I'm about 3 units away from this object. So this is my standing point. Furthermore, I have to decide how it's going to look from side view. So the height of my object is 1 unit. And the length was 2 units. And my standing point was about 3 units, slightly longer than the length of the box. And I have to decide the height. So I'm 2 units tall, let's say. So I will be looking from this angle. All right. So now I will construct this shape from top view. So I'm drawing my reference line, my baseline over here. And then drawing a perpendicular line. So in order to draw a perpendicular line to your baseline, I recommend placing your arm right at the top of this line, and afterwards going left and right. And then once you're ready, draw this straight line. That way you will have nice perpendicular lines. And now we're going to use these 2 lines as a reference to place our object. So from top view, we said that this object is, let's say, 30 degree by 60 degree. So we're going to draw this 30 degree line. And then this line is going to be 60 degrees. And it's going to be about 1 unit by 2 units. So it's roughly like that. And I have to get this line parallel and finish my object. And I can add the line weight. Okay, make sure that your object is rectangular. Sometimes when you run out of space, you tend to squeeze the object and you end up with diamond shape. So if that happens, I recommend drawing a little bit further away from the edge and make sure the object is looking rectangular. So we have this 1 by 2 object, and the angles are 30 degrees by 60 degrees. And the next step is deciding where I'm standing from top view. So if this is 2 units, roughly 3 units is going to be here. All right. Now that I have my standing point, I have to figure out my vanishing points. To do that, I'm going to draw lines that are parallel to these edges. So they have to be perfectly parallel to those edges. In order to achieve that, I recommend going over this edge. Do not keep it short. Keep it long so that you get the angle right. And once you're ready, place it here. And same with the other side. So I'm going over this edge. And then afterwards, I'm going to draw a line that is parallel to that edge going towards my standing point. Okay, this will give me the vanishing points, those intersecting points. this will intersect over here. So my first vanishing point and my second vanishing point, and this is my standing point. So the important part is getting these lines parallel to those edges. The next step is deciding your standing point, deciding where you're going to draw your perspective. So you can draw anywhere you want. I have some empty space over here, so probably I will draw somewhere here at the bottom. And I will draw my horizon line right here. And again, it has to be parallel to these lines. So this is my horizon line. And in the second step, I will draw the front edge of my box. So to decide that, I'm looking at that side view. And over here, I'm about 1 unit above the object. So I'm drawing, this is the 1 unit. So, and I'm at 1 unit above the object. So, which means it's going to be 1 unit below the horizon line. And the height of my object is another 1 unit. So again, I can use this one as a reference. That's 1 unit. And it is going to be same length as this one, which is going to be 1 unit. Okay. Now that I have my front edge, I can start drawing lines towards my vanishing point, but I don't have vanishing points on the horizon line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag those vanishing points from up here to down onto my horizon line. So again, we have to get those lines straight to make sure that our drawing is accurate. So first vanishing point will be there, and the second vanishing point will be right here. Vanishing point 2 and vanishing point 1. The next step is figuring out the baselines. So I will be drawing from this vanishing point to the bottom corner. And same here from this corner to my vanishing point. Now I will do the same with the top corner. And from this first vanishing point to top corner. Okay, so I start to see this box. Now I have to figure out how long my object is going to be and its length. So to do that, again, I'm going to use that top view as a reference. So I will get this edge and transfer it down here. So which is going to be roughly right there. So this is going to be representing this edge. And same over here, I'm getting that point and then drawing line and finding where that edge ends. So this will give me the length and width of the object. Now we have to do the same with the top surface. Simply, we're going to draw lines towards our vanishing point from those corners. So first one goes to that vanishing point, and the second corner goes to this vanishing point right here. And I can add the line weight so that our drawing stands out. So basically, this is how my object will appear if I'm standing 1 unit above the object. What happens if I was looking right at the horizon level, right at this point? So that means my object will start from here and go up about 1 unit. Same length as this one. And the following steps are going to be the same. drawing lines towards the vanishing points, just like that. Since this is on the horizon, those lines won't be visible. And I already have those lines for the edges. So first one is finishing right here. The other one is finishing right there. So I'm going over those edges so you guys can see it better. So this is how it will look like if I view my object from ground level or zero level. So this is an example of a zero level perspective. So maybe I can change the angle again. This time, let's say I'm standing below the horizon line. So I'm seeing basically the bottom of the object. And let's say I am 3 units below the object. So that means I have to place my object above the horizon line because we are looking at from the bottom. So that's 1 unit, 2 unit, and 3 unit will be somewhere here. So the front edge will be right there. Actually, I'm about 2 units below the object, let's say. And afterwards, again, similar steps. You will be drawing lines towards the vanishing point. And then getting those edges. And completing your drawing by drawing the base of this object. Again, in line that we are drawing should go to our vanishing point. So this is how it will look if we are looking at this object about 2 levels below. All right. So this is how you can change the angle of view. To go over, first of all, plan everything from top view, decide the proportions, make sure that your lines are straight and perpendicular to each other. To do that, always draw your reference lines, those 90-degree lines, and afterwards place your object from top view and decide how far you're standing from the object, which will determine those vanishing points. So in order to find those vanishing points, you will be drawing lines that are parallel to those edges. And afterwards, decide where you want to draw. So it can be anywhere below here. If you want, you can even bring it closer and the objects can overlap. It doesn't matter. Or it can be further down if you have more space. But I don't recommend going further down because the more distance that you have, it will be more difficult to draw straight lines. And then your drawing won't be accurate. And afterwards, decide where you want to place your horizon line and transfer those 2 vanishing points onto that horizon line. And this, from the side view, decide where the standing point is going to be. If you're below the object, your object will be above the horizon line. If you're above the object, then your object will be below the horizon line. And afterwards, place the front edge, and from those front edges, draw lines from its corners to your vanishing point, and slowly construct your shape. Okay, so in the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the standing point. So I'm going to get the exact shape, but this time I'm going to stay, let's say, further away from it. So let's see what's going to happen. So normally I was here 3 units away from the object. This time I will be standing about 5 units away from the object. So maybe I will draw in a smaller scale over here, so I don't have much space. But I will keep the proportions same, 1/2. Again, I'm placing my arm right at that line, and then afterwards, trying to draw this perpendicular line. So using this perpendicular line as a reference, I'm drawing my rectangular shape, and it's going to be 30 degrees by 6 degrees. So that's 1 unit. So 2 units will be probably somewhere here. Here. Next is deciding your standing point. So normally 3 unit was somewhere here, 5 units should be somewhere down here. And I will draw lines that are parallel to those edges. So my vanishing point will be here. I don't have enough space, but I will try to get the angle right and try to imagine the vanishing point, which will be off the page. So if it's going that angle, probably it will be going that angle. And these two lines will meet somewhere over here. That's where my vanishing point is. And next I will be deciding the horizon line. My horizon line is here. And I'm about 1 unit. I'm drawing the same box over here. And it's going to be 1 unit above the object, and the object is 1 unit. And I will get these vanishing points from here, which is going to be down here. The other one is, as I said, it will be off the page, but it will be somewhere here. And I will be drawing lines towards those points. So I will use the ruler as a reference. So the point is there. Maybe I can start with this one. And my vanishing point was somewhere here. Therefore, it will be down here. And I will draw a line towards that point. Next, I will find the edges. And let's add the line weights. And finally, we will complete our drawing by drawing the top surface. And the vanishing point was there, so it will go to that direction. All right. So as you can see, everything is exactly the same angle, 30 degrees by 60 degrees. And the only difference between this drawing and the first one that we drew is that the standing point, we were standing about 3 units away from the object, whereas over here we're 5 units away from the object. So when we compare our final drawings, our perspective drawings, you will see that this one over here will appear more distorted, whereas this one have more natural lines. These lines will converge less compared to these lines over here. So basically, if you come closer to the object, you will have more distorted look. If you're further away from the object, you will achieve more a natural look. It's same as photographing with your camera. So if you bring your camera closer to our object, you will start to have more distorted look, more fisheye effect. Whereas if you take the camera further away from the object and photograph it, and you will achieve more natural look. So in industrial design, I recommend having more natural look, so having these lines more parallel to each other. So I will keep the standing point further away from the object when designing small objects, handheld objects. All right, so in the next step, I will be showing the same method but with less steps. Now in this example, I won't be drawing the top view. I will be just starting my drawing with the vanishing line, the horizon line. So let's place our horizon line over here. and then our center line. And next I will decide where I'm standing. Am I standing above the object or below the object? In this example, I will be standing above the object. Then I will decide how far away I'm from the object. So I'm about 2 units above the object. Therefore, the front edge of my object will be right there. Okay. So now I'm deciding the type of perspective. Do I want more natural look or more extreme look? As you can see over here, when we did this 3-unit and 5-unit example, when we were standing closer to object, it was appearing more distorted, more extreme type of perspective, because the vanishing points were coming closer. That's why we were trying to squeeze the shape. Whereas over here, when we are further away from the object, compared to this one, our vanishing points were way further away from each other. So it was right there. So which means if I want to achieve more natural look, I will place them apart from each other, away from each other. And if I want to create more extreme perspective look, I will bring them closer to each other. So in this one, I want more natural look, so I will place my vanishing point here and the other vanishing point there. And then I will be drawing lines towards these vanishing points. All right, and I'm deciding the proportions. So it was 1 by 2 units, and I'm going to use this line as a reference. So if this is 1 unit, this will be also going to be 1 unit, but because of the perspective foreshortening, it should appear slightly shorter. So if you get a ruler, if this is 20 millimeters, this should appear about 1.8 millimeters. Sorry, 18 millimeters. Whereas over here, normally, if this is 20 millimeters, if I draw this 440 millimeters, it will appear too long. It won't give the look that I want. So it has to appear slightly shorter than 40 millimeters because of the perspective foreshortening. So it should be somewhere here. So I can use my cap as a reference to show you guys. So this is about 1 unit. And as you can see, this is slightly shorter than that. And whereas over here, ideally normally it should be the length of 2 caps, but it's slightly shorter than that. Then using those corners, I'm drawing vertical lines, drawing those inner edges, and finally completing it by drawing the top surface. Let's add the outer contour lines. So this is how it will look. And furthermore, this time I will be getting rid of the horizon line and drawing my box without these vanishing points. So again, I will always start with the front edge. Let's say this is 1 unit. And then I'm deciding the angle of view. Do I want more extreme perspective or more natural look? If I want more extreme perspective, I will bring those 2 baselines closer to each other. But if I want more natural look, I will make it more closer to 120 degrees. So let's do more natural look. So I'm drawing these 2 lines. If you want, you can use this baseline as a reference and then draw those 2 lines. One is going that direction, and the angle between these 2 baselines are going to be 120 degrees. Okay. And then from top point, I will draw another line that is going to my vanishing point. But what I'm going to do over here is, instead of placing my vanishing points on my paper, I'm just going to narrow down that angle. So if it's going that direction, it should slightly converge. Not too much, slightly, because we want to achieve more natural look. But if you want, again, extreme perspective, you can narrow down even further and converge more. So same over here, it's going this direction. So that means I'm going to change the angle slightly and converge. And I will define the edges. So if this is 20 millimeters, it should be slightly shorter than that. And same here, if it's 20, this is going to be 2 units, this is going to be 1 unit, and this is going to be 2 units. So which means if I measure this 20 millimeters, this should appear about 38 millimeters. Slightly shorter. But if you're using extreme perspective, you have to exaggerate, and even you have to make it shorter. And we're going to draw vertical lines. And again, try to get those angles right and make sure that they are meeting at the same vanishing point. So it is going here, and probably they should meet somewhere here. And then from there, I will draw towards that point. Okay, so that's how you will draw this object without any horizon or vanishing points. So let's do another one. This time, let's change the angle. Let's say we want to see more of this left-hand side. So we are placing the baseline and this perpendicular line, and deciding the height of the object. And now going to decide the perspective. Do we want extreme or more natural look? So it's going to be more natural look, but on the other hand, we want to see this side more than this side. But the angle between these two lines are still going to be the same. So it's going to be 120 degrees roughly. And then I'm just going to rotate these two lines and so that I can see this side more. So if this is going this direction, it should go roughly towards this direction, and 120 degrees roughly. So it should go, it should be smaller angle, like that. So again, since the angle is narrow, we're going to exaggerate and shorten this distance a bit more. And with this one, it is going to be more closer to 40 millimeters now. So if it's 20, it should be close to 39. And the height is going to be the same. Now we're going to draw lines from this top corner. It should slightly converge. They're almost parallel, but they're still converging. And same here, they slightly converge. And again, they should meet at the same vanishing point. Alright, so basically that's how you change the angle of the box. Now let's draw some cubes over here. Height is going to be 1 unit. And I will be viewing this box from a 45-degree angle. So this angle and this angle right here has to be same. And afterwards, I will be drawing these lines that are converging. Again, remember this distance, because of the perspective foreshortening, it's going to be appearing shorter. It's going to be similar length here. Since it's 45 degree, it should touch this point here. Now, if I want, I can modify this box, such as I can trim this corner and have 45 degree angle. To do that, in order to achieve perfect 45 degree angle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find its center point. And using that center point, I'm going to find its midpoints, which is here. And then another line that is going towards the vanishing point, going through that center, which will give me that midpoint. Then I can trim this shape, and I can find the footprint of this point on the other edge by drawing a line towards the vanishing point. Same up here. And finally, I can add the outer contour lines so that my object stands out. I'm going to use this Graphic 1 pen. Just like that. So getting the proportions right, it's very, very important. If you get the proportions of that bounding box wrong, your object might look wrong, such as, let's say you're designing a furniture, and if you get the proportions of that table wrong, it might look like a kid's furniture. Same with the shoes, especially with the footwear, it's very important. If you get the bounding box of that sole, the base part of that shoe wrong, then your shoe might be, looking like a kid's shoe. So if you cannot get the proportions right, like if you're drawing a cube and if it doesn't look right, I recommend going back to the first step where we did the top view drawing and then transferred that drawing to a perspective. I recommend repeating that exercise till you get it right. Once you have trained eye over time, you will start to produce more accurate drawings. And let's practice with one more object. So let's try to design a chair that is going to be 1 unit tall, 1 unit wide, and 1 unit is going to be the backrest. I will start with the front edge. And again, I'm looking at this box from a 45 degree angle. So this angle will match with that angle. It has to be around 120 degrees. Then the width is going to be similar to this one, but slightly shorter. And same over here. And I will draw a line towards the vanishing point, but almost going to be parallel to this one, but slightly converging. So I will be looking at this chair from back, and I want the backrest to be the exact, the same size as this foot, the leg. To do that, I'm going to find the midpoint. So this is going to be the center point of my bigger rectangle, and I'm going to extend these edges all the way up. Now I'm going to use this midpoint, center point, and then find the length of the backrest. Now I can connect these two intersecting points. So that way, this distance will be perfectly same as this one. Maybe I can highlight this object with a different pen, with different color. So that's how my chair will appear. Let's repeat with that extension part. So I'm starting with one cube, and then I'm going to add another one right next to it. So it's going to be 1 unit. It's easier to calculate this 1 unit. And then drawing a line towards the vanishing points. Slight converging. Drawing these vertical lines. All right. And afterwards, I'm going to add another box right next to it. So normally, let's say this one was 2 units, and it should appear 1.8 millimeters. 1.8 centimeter, whereas this is 2 centimeters. But then it will eventually get shorter and shorter. Imagine a long train. The first cart will appear longer than the other ones, and then the one at the end will appear the shortest. So that's what we're going to do over here. Because of the perspective foreshortening, it will be challenging to find the exact distance. So instead of guessing and eyeballing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the midpoint of this, and then using that midpoint, I'm going to extend my box and add another perfect cube right next to it. So let's find its center point. And this will give me the midpoint, which is going to be the new center point of that bigger object. And by drawing a line going through those centered points, I'll find those intersecting points. And from there, I will draw vertical lines that are parallel to this line. And that way, I will have more accurate look. So if I get a ruler, if I measure this distance and compare with this one, this will be slightly shorter than that one. And let's try to add another box on top of this. Normally what I'm doing is I'm just getting this distance and applying right here. But as I said, if you want to get a more accurate result, you can get this center point and find the midpoint and use that as a reference and draw a line going through that center point and find the intersecting points. Extend that line first and then draw a line that is going through that center point. And afterwards, connect those two intersecting points.